A month ago, I wrote an article was published that I wrote called I Hate the Word Theme. I took a lot of grief for that title, both inside and outside the office, obviously, and not the least of which was from my longtime friend and colleague Keith James, who had just asked me to speak at a gathering of the TEA in London. Now, clearly, the man who hates the word theme might not be the best choice to speak at an association whose very title is the Themed Entertainment Association. Nevertheless, I spoke, and I took the opportunity to point out, as I did in the article, that the reason I hate the word theme is that it has become a simplistic statement of an instant catch-all solution for almost any business problem. Slap a theme on it, the world will get better, or so the conventional wisdom goes. And that is what I hate. I hate the perception that developing a good attraction means going to a lexicon of themes, picking one out, slapping it on the ride, the show, the restaurant, the shop, the restroom, the baseball stadium, and everything works. That'll fix it. It's themed. But then I wondered why the hell I wrote the damn article in the first place, because it's clear to anyone, even a passing observer, that there's very little left on the planet that hasn't been themed anyway. I mean, go find a utilitarian restaurant that just serves food. Retail establishments without a theme are rarer and rarer. Department stores don't count. They're nothing but a collection of mini themes. I guess there are a few amusement parks out there that don't have themes. Basic rides, basic games, no attention to theme other than what comes with it off the shelf. And I've got a feeling every once in a while that those might be quite refreshing. Now, clearly I don't think there's anything wrong with developing themed attractions. I mean, quite the contrary. For if no other reason, it's the way I earn my living. The industry has been enormously good to me and enormously good to our company. But ultimately, I submit that in the future, it is not just about themes. For in themselves, taken singularly, standing alone, themes can be at best superficial and at worst boring and meaningless. It's about entertainment. TEA has it right. The Themed Entertainment Association is about escape, it's about leisure, and as others have spoken, it's about fantasy, it's about getting out of the real and into the unreal, and it's basically about human emotion. The rush to theme, I think, can often result in a rush to the meaningless, the knee-jerk solution to a failing property, and you've all seen it. The restaurant isn't working, theme it. Retail sales are off, create a brand land. Park attendance is off, add a theme area. People don't care about scientific messages, create a themed science center. History is a bore, so theme the damn stuff. Now, that one has always been the silliest to me in many ways, because after all, what is history but a collection of everybody else's themes? I mean, after all, most themes that we create were at one time someone else's reality, even if you were a rabbit or a mouse, I suspect. Lately, we got off the theme kick, and we got onto the story kick. Bob and I got onto it, along with everybody else. Bob started it, probably. A concept which, in principle, we certainly all must embrace and applaud. And Lord knows I must, for I write some of these things. And we seem to think that if we think of themes as running the risk of being shallow, then stories are certainly going to elevate us to a higher plane. Well, maybe yes and maybe no. There are probably more lousy stories out there than there are lousy themes. And neither one guarantee that an attraction is going to be a success, whatever it is. That somehow, because it has a theme or a story, it's going to transcend its basic essence and become something wonderful just because it has a theme or a story. No. Here's what I think is going to happen in the future when the whole world is themed, which will be a week from next Thursday at 7:18 p.m. What I think we're going to do is find ourselves going back to the basics. And there are only two: content and emotion. The stuff which generates human feelings, touches the mind, the soul, the heart, corny as it is, that creates the tears and the laughter. Richard Rogers once said, even a cliche has the right to be true, and I think that cliche probably has the biggest right to be true. Of course there will be a story, and of course there will be a theme. But first, there will be a human connection, something that people give a damn about. You got to get into the hearts and the minds and understand the guest before you start worrying about the theme and the story. Now, also in the future, about 27 months after the whole world is themed, which you now know is a week from next Thursday at 7:18 p.m., the whole world will become interactive, because that is, of course, the new solution du jour. Now, there's nothing wrong with interactive, of course. We all benefit from it. The Internet is great, lots of wonderful information. Most of us couldn't do business without it. But it's not exactly packed with emotion. Certain chat rooms probably are the exception, but you know more about that than I am sure. But just watch. Just watch. Just as theme and story became the catch-all phrase for problem attractions, interactive is next. Cafe doesn't work. Make it interactive. Museum attendance down. Add interactives. Interactive rides, interactive games, interactive retail, interactive restrooms, which do leave a lot to the imagination, by the way. But where's the content? Oddly, sometimes it's just not there, at least not in a form that anybody really cares about. Of course, in the future, there will be the ultimate that's been alluded to, interactive storytelling. Bob and I love this one, I think. Get the audience involved in telling the story and creating their own experience. Let me quote from someone far wiser and articulate and certainly more famous and wealthy than I on that latest concept, Bran Farron, the Disney guru, in a recent article in the New Yorker magazine. People talk about this is Bran, people talk about interactive storytelling. Fine. But the reason you pay Steven Spielberg $10 million is that he's a better storyteller than you are. You want him to tell you the story for the same reason you do not go out and buy a pair of vice grips and perform do-it-yourself bypass surgery. Some things are best left to the professionals. Theme, story, interactive, sure. But first, human emotion. Oh, yeah, and in the future, there's going to be this thing called quality. People are tired of schlock. Tired of being taken, whether it's in the clothes they wear or the computers they use or the food they eat or the entertainment they consume. Any research will tell you this. People have had it with stuff that overpromises and underdelivers and becomes instantly forgettable. And another major issue in the future is where Walt started, a thing called service and guest attention. To hell with the theme, to hell with the story, to hell with the quality and the interactives. When I'm treated indifferently, I'm out of there, man, and I should be. When the staff regards me as an interruption of their work rather than the purpose of it, I'm out of there. And I really don't care how much money they spent on the theme or the story. That ain't enough. Not anymore, and certainly not in the future. Let us not forget that one of the major uses of theming, of course, really has to do with marketing and not a lot about storytelling or creating experiences. It has to do with intellectual property. I mean, arguably, a coaster is a coaster, but there is only one Mr. Freeze or one Batman coaster, and that's cool. There's nothing wrong with that, of course. But I think we're deluding ourselves if we try to make a leap from theming dictated by marketing to theming and story as content and human emotion. I suspect that themes and stories will be with us, well after all of us are gone. I do not envision anybody returning to the bland or the neutral or the mundane or the ordinary. But themes and stories are likely to be only the price of entry, and only the price of entry, not a guarantee of success. For that, emotion, quality, service, I think will make the ultimate differences. Audiences know the theme game. They're on to us. Want to overwhelm them? Try a little quality and service. The Zenith Corporation, who makes television sets, many years ago had a really cool slogan they passionately embraced. It was, "The quality goes in before the name goes on." I think that's a rather neat way of saying succinctly something that sometimes we all forget. It also continually amazes me in the planning process when talking to clients at what point the personal, the human, the emotional components enter the planning process. Not first. Got to talk about the land and the money first. Often very late. We talk about the guest experience then eventually, as she works her way through a wonderfully dense environment that we created, partaking of a great story that we wrote. But what we don't talk enough about is the emotional experience, the takeaway. What we don't do is begin at the end by focusing clearly on what the guest is expected to leave with. What's the emotion? What's the memory? What is the memory that's going to keep them coming back and keep our industry vital? And I would submit, as others have said, that the online computer experience makes the need to focus on human emotion even more intense in our industry. Consider this. Sophisticated homepages are themed. They even have stories. And a lot of stuff that was only once available by going outside the home is now instantly available in the home via the internet. Fun, music, games, interactive, education, it's all there. The themed entertainment business in the future, I think, must focus on providing that emotion, that group experience, that audience experience, that sense of community, We must focus on attractions and technologies that are not now or not ever in the future likely to be available in the home. For that, and that alone, will ultimately be our most distinguishing characteristic. And I think also for the health of our industry, we must all always continue to focus on making sure we create attractions that work. Failed ventures do none of us any good. We're an industry, we're professionals, and we should have a collective pride in producing products and services that are stunning in their thematic execution, compelling in their sensitive story, guest-friendly in their operations, on time, on budget, and of a consistently high quality. And I think no matter where we are in the themed entertainment business, whether you're a developer, a financier, a master planner, a designer, a writer, a producer, an operator, a marketer, or an employee, that mutual goal must be the same for all of us. Future of the themed entertainment? Oh, it seems like it will be here forever, and I suspect it probably will. But it is absolutely guaranteed that it will change. Nothing is forever, never has been, never will be. Except this, the human condition. The need for people to escape, to be entertained, to smile, to laugh, to cry, to grasp, to giggle, and to hug. And I personally think that for those of us who do what all of us are fortunate enough to do for a living, that really should be regarded as a very, very sacred trust. Thanks very much.